What we're about to do here is give you a stretching routine that you can do using only the tools that you will have when you're at the driving range or when you're setting up to play a round of golf. Now you can do these before you play, after you play, or while you're waiting on the tee box while you're playing a round. However, I do recommend that you go on the site and actually download our pre-game warm-up routine. That's going to give you a more effective warm-up than this static stretching routine alone. But here's how we're going to begin this routine today. Let's go ahead and get down on our right knee. What I want you to do is lunge forward till you feel a stretch across the front of your right hip. Then I'm going to have you tuck your tailbone underneath your body to intensify that stretch on the front of the hip. Once you're there, we're going to get that club up over your head, hands about shoulder width apart, and I want you to lean over to the opposite side of your body than the knee that's on the ground and hold for about 10 seconds or so. I want you to breathe into it and ease into that stretch. Okay, we'll count it down. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now when you tilt your body over to that left side, I don't want you to drop the chest forward. I want you to stay nice and tall to make sure that we actually increase the stretch on the hip flexors and the QLs in the lower back. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Put that left knee down. We're simply going to lunge forward until we feel that stretch across the front of our left hip. And I want you to rotate your pelvis under your body to intensify the stretch. Get that club up over your head again. Then we're simply going to tilt over to the right, hold it, and sink into that stretch a little bit further with every breath. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now what I want you to do is grab another one of your irons, and we're going to use that as a little feedback tool to know whether or not we're keeping our pelvis nice and stable for this next mobility exercise right here. We're going to start by lining that club up with the butt end of the club just above the crest of your pelvic bone. What I want you to do is get that club up over your head, hands shoulder width apart. Then without moving your pelvis, you're going to rotate side to side. Now we're lengthening out the lats, reach for the sky. A left and a right rotation. Could be 1 repetition. Now if you do rotate your pelvis, you're going to let that club shaft fall to the ground, so you'll know whether or not you're keeping a stable pelvis. We'll do 4 more. 2 and 1. Let's go ahead and switch sides. We'll realign the butt end of that club up to keep that little bit of feedback that we need to know whether or not we're keeping our pelvis nice and stable. Arms are up nice and tall. We're going to rotate side to side. Again, we're just looking to separate the torso and the pelvis, along with getting a little extra length in our lats right here while we rotate and reach up. Pelvis is nice and stable. Go ahead and perform 10 repetitions of rotation right here. 2 more. And 1. You can place that other club down. Now we're going to get up on our feet. We're going to use the club to help us with our balance, and we're simply going to stretch out our quads. And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to grab that leg, bring the heel up towards the butt. I want you to arch your lower back. I want you to tuck your tailbone in. That's going to help get a bit better stretch to that quadricep. And you can just hold that for about 10 breaths or 10 seconds. 6, again, not arching the lower back, tucking that tailbone under. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing on the opposite leg. Again, we're just using the club shaft to help us with our balance. Once you've got that heel drawn up towards your butt, remember not to arch your lower back. Tuck the tailbone in and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now what we want to do is stretch out the hamstrings using an active mobility exercise. And here's how we're going to do it. I'll show you from 2 angles, 1 on each successive foot. So starting on the left foot, again using that club to assist you with your balance, what I'm going to have you do is just hinge forward at your hip sockets on one leg as though you were bending down to pick something off the ground. We're going to do that 3 times. On the 3rd try, I want you to hold the bottom position to get that nice stretch throughout the hamstring, the muscle on the back of your thigh. So here's what it's going to look like. Now when you do this, I do want you to keep your pelvis level. It shouldn't be rolling around. Okay, so you're just going to reach down towards the ground. 1, 2, pull that belly button in towards your spine, and 3, hold the fingers just off the ground for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, let's bring it up. We'll switch sides, and now I'm going to show you what it looks like from this angle here so you can understand what I mean by not rotating the pelvis. So on the right foot, I'm pulling my belly button in to keep my pelvis level or square. So I'm just simply going to lean forward as though I'm going to pick something up off the ground, keeping that pelvis level. 2, weight-bearing leg is softly bent, and we'll come down for 1 more, and we'll hold. So what I don't want to see is that rotation of the hip. Keep it flat like that. Hold the hand just off the floor, get a nice stretch in that hamstring, straighten out the top leg. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're going to come up, move into another stretch for our TFL, that little muscle on the side of your hip that attaches your IT band to the crest of your hip bones. So what I want you to do is start by taking your right foot, crossing it over and placing it behind your left one. Now you want to keep both feet flat, both toes pointing straight ahead. Let's get the club shaft up over our head, and we're simply going to lean over to the side, keeping our arms straight, almost pulling the club shaft down towards the ground on that left-hand side. You're going to breathe into it, and again, I don't want you to flex forward at the waist. I want you to stay up tall. Now we want to make sure we keep that TFL muscle stretched out really well. If we don't, what tends to happen is it shuts down our lateral stabilizers, our glute muscle, and that's going to make more lateral movement appear in our golf swing, and we don't want any sway and slides. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Let's go ahead and get both feet pointing straight ahead. Get the arms up over the head one more time, and then we're going to tilt over to the right this time. Again, you should feel that stretch all the way down your entire left-hand side. We're pulling down on the club shaft here to intensify the stretch. Again, being careful not to tilt forward at the waist. Keep the chest and the eyes up nice and tall right there. Okay, we'll hold that for about 10 seconds or so. Then we're going to come up, feet shoulder width apart, and we're going to go into a W turn stretch. So what I want you to do is just place the club shaft across the back of your shoulders. Don't place it across the back of your neck. That's going to be uncomfortable. You don't want to pull and put any pressure on the back of your neck. So you're forming a W with your arms in this hand position right here. That's why I call it a W turn. Now what I want you to do is hinge forward a little bit at your hip sockets and get into your address posture or your setup posture. Now when you do that, I'm just going to turn sideways. I want you to make sure that you're not arching your lower back, but you've actually found that neutral pelvic alignment. Now what we're going to do is we're simply going to turn as far as we can go in both directions, one side at a time, without moving our pelvis. So here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to rotate as far as I can comfortably go. I'm not shifting my pelvis. I'm getting good separation here. I'm going to hold that position for about 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll come up out of our posture. I'll turn it around so you can see what it looks like from this angle when I turn to the other side. Feet shoulder width apart again, hinging forward from your hip sockets. Pull that belly button in, find that neutral pelvis and that neutral spine. And we're simply going to turn the opposite direction now. Again, not moving the pelvis like that. I'm actually loading into that hip, rotating into the hip, getting good separation right here. And I'm going to hold that position at the end point of my range of motion for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we're going to do another great separation stretch called a split stance turn. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to get you to start by placing your left foot forward in an offset lunge position as such. Then I want you to just put the club across your hips there to get a feel for what it's like to hinge over top of the bar to make sure you're hinging from your hip sockets. Then I'm going to have you maintain a nice neutral spinal alignment. Get the club out like this, and I want you to push with your bottom hand and pull with your top hand. Introduce some rotation here across the pelvis. So get a good stretch to the chest and the shoulders and the lat on the lower arm, but also through the obliques all the way down the side of the body there. You're going to hold that position for about 10 seconds. Push into it with every breath. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's bring it up. I'm just going to change my hand position and keep the lead hand up against the face of the club right there for a little more leverage. Get the opposite foot forward. Again, start by placing the club shaft across your hip bones. Feel what it's like to hinge over top of the bar to make sure we're performing a proper hip hinge. Find that neutral pelvis and spine. And then we're going to go ahead and turn, pushing with the bottom hand, pulling with the bottom hand, top hand, making sure both arms stay completely outstretched. I'm looking straight down on the ground ahead of me. And I'm just going to hold that for about 10 breaths or 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we're going to move into what's called a palm up club lift stretch. And we're going to do this in 2 positions. First we'll do it standing up tall, and then we'll do it in our golf posture or setup posture. So feet are just going to be shoulder width position to start. You're going to grasp that club, hands about shoulder width apart or just a little bit wider. Now I want you to make sure you maintain your elbows locked out fully and maintain sort of a neutral pelvic alignment that we've been practicing and set up by pulling the belly button in and rocking that pelvis posteriorly. Now we're going to take our arms and we're going to slowly lift them up overhead as far as we can, keeping the elbows locked. Don't bend them out there. We want to maximize the length of our lats here. 8, hold that for 10 breaths or 10 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the arms down. Place the club shaft across the crest of your hip bones. Bend your knees slightly, and then keeping a neutral pelvis and spine, I want you to hinge over top of the bar. So you're hinging from your hip sockets, not the middle portion of your spine. Once you're in this position, drop your hands out straight down in front of you. Again, palm up grip, hands a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Then you're simply going to lift the club shaft up as high as you comfortably can while maintaining the spine angle you set up with there in that forward flex posture for 10 seconds or 10 breaths. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come up out of that posture. Now what I want you to do is grab either your driver or one of your woods, a slightly longer club, and we're going to continue to stretch out our lats a little bit further in this prayer position, we would call it. So you can place the club way out in front of you like that, stack your hands one on top of the other. Then what I want you to do is pull your belly button in, tilt that pelvis backwards like that. That's going to maximize the length of the lat muscle at its origin. And then what I want you to do is simply drop your chest and your head between your arms as such. Now push your butt back over your heels. That's going to, and keep your elbows locked so we can maximize the length of our lat muscles here. Now what we're going to do, once you've held this for 10 seconds or 10 breaths, is we're going to twist our hip away from one side like I'm doing right here. I'm going to hold that for another 10 seconds or 10 breaths. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then I'm going to rotate my opposite hip over just to intensify that stretch on my right side. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and a 1. Good, now we're going to go into another stretch. This one's called the A-frame stretch. This is going to help get you a little bit more length in the muscles across your chest and your shoulder. So what I want you to do is we're going to continue to use our driver. It's got a little bit more weight in the head. It's going to assist us with the stretch we're about to get into here. So feet are shoulder width apart. I want you to hinge forward from your hip sockets like we've been doing, and I want you to place your hand and your elbow on your thighs to support your upper body. Now I want you to simply take that club, reach up above you as far as you can, and let the weight of the club head assist you in stretching out the chest and the shoulder there. Right there, you kind of want to resist the rotation to get a little bit more of a stretch to that chest, and you're going to hold this A-frame stretch for about 10 breaths or 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll bring the club down, we'll come up, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Hinge forward at your hip sockets, tuck your tailbone in, hand and elbow on the thigh, reach up, look straight down, let the weight of the club head lengthen out that chest and shoulder complex on the left side. Stay square, and count it down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's ease up out of that stretch. And we're going to finish with another stretch to help open up the shoulders a little bit more, this time in a more functional position, so we can maximize our shoulder range of motion at the top of our backswing and through our follow through. So go ahead and grab one of your irons again. What I want you to do is grab the head of the club right here, and I want you to place the club shaft behind your upper arm like this. So I'll turn from the side so you can see how I'm holding the club. And then from this position, I want you to grab the butt end of the club, and you're simply going to rotate the club right here. Help stretch out that shoulder right there. Ease into this stretch, don't force it. Again, I want you to try to keep the elbow in line with the shoulder. Once you're in this position, you're going to hold it for about 10 seconds. We'll count it down. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'll turn around, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Head of the club is in my palm. I've got the club shaft behind my upper arm. When you do this, try to keep your tailbone tucked in so we're not arching our lower back to get that range of motion. We're just actually actively stretching out the shoulder to gain the range of motion we're looking for here. And once we're there, comfortably at that end point, not forcing it, we're going to hold and continue to breathe for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There you have it. There's a great stretch routine that addresses all of the common areas that lack flexibility in golfers. Try that the next time you're at the driving range or while you're waiting to tee off at the next hole.